here. Get it going. I also have Daniel Mudge from Zillow on the call with us today. Say hello, Daniel.
Hey guys, good morning.
All right. So we are excited that all of you have joined us here today on our Expand Your Brand webinar. And today we are going to talk about how to use Zillow 3D Home Tour and Zillow 3D videos or Zillow videos on Zillow and on the Zillow platform, the apps and everything that you need to know to use that video to help grow your business. So for those of you that don't know who I am, welcome. I'm Todd Sumney, the Chief Industry Officer for HomeSmart International. And, throughout this whole pandemic, the company HomeSmart has been 100% operational. We're here for you. And we hope that all of you are staying safe, healthy, and doing well. And just want to let you know that we're here for you. Agent Services is here for your support. Your brokerage, the company is here for you. So reach out if there's anything at all you need. Now, throughout this whole pandemic, we've really been focusing on opportunities. What are opportunities that we can implement in our business? And especially, what are some free opportunities that we can implement in our business to really engage the customer and grow our business? And my challenge to you today is take what you learned today and apply it and start using it today, then use it tomorrow, then use it the day after. And if you do that a year from now, you'll be happy that you did, that you got started and that you started to use it. And Daniel is really going to walk you through step-by-step everything you need to know. Now, after this session, I'm also going to send out a PDF real quick that Kadra Evans, who I work with also at Zillow, has prepared for all of you. It's just a PDF sheet that talks about using video and especially listings that are currently active, step-by-step, how do you make sure that your videos are working correctly? So how to approve and publish videos to Zillow as the listing agent. I know, Daniel's going to cover some of that here today as well, but I'm going to send out a PDF to you that walks you through step-by-step so you have some follow-up items. In addition, I want to just direct all of you, if you have any questions at all, Daniel's going to answer your questions. Type them into the chat, type them into the Q&A. We'll monitor that and answer your questions live here. But they also have a website section, a page on Zillow where you can go find everything you need to know about Zillow, frequently asked questions. What is Zillow 3D Home? Are there any monthly fees, etc.? It has all the questions right there. What's the difference between 3D Home and some of the other video offerings? Here's the actual website. It's zillow.com/marketing/3D-home-FAQ. So go check that out. I'll send that link out in a follow-up email to all of you as well after the webinar. So without any further ado, I want to talk just about opportunities and about capturing easy 3D tours. Daniel is the resident expert on Zillow 3D for all of Zillow. I met Daniel at several Inman Connect conferences where he's there working with agents and helping everyone implement video. And Daniel, thank you for joining us today. I'm so excited that you're here and look forward to learning from you and seeing everything that you have to tell us today about Zillow 3D. And take over the screen, take over the PowerPoint, whatever you need to do.
Yeah, hey, thanks so much. And it's a real honor to be here with you guys today. I'm in my home office here in Seattle, and you know that I'm US based because I'm also rocking the COVID long haircut. So it's great to be with you guys. And the goal of today is to go ahead and both give you a little bit of the storyline and a brief overview of what the Zillow 3D Home app is. But then the main goal today is to go over step-by-step instructions so that everyone watching today will be able to take a 3D home tour at the end of the webinar. In fact, I'd highly encourage you to take just a quick test tour of your own living room just to see how it all works. So I'll go ahead. I think it might work best if I take over the screen share.
Here, I'm going to stop my share. There you go.
All
there
right.
you go.
Awesome. So like a little bit of an introduction, I work on the Rich Media Experience team here at Zillow. Really, that team's entire job is to make your listings look as good as possible when it comes to multimedia content. So we all know listing photos, right, are an incredible importance, but my team specifically works with video and now the Zillow 3D Home app to add just that extra edge and that extra dimension to help home shoppers fall in love with your listing before even visiting in person. And so today, certainly I'm excited to talk with you about the Zillow 3D Home app, because this has become, I would say, just an incredibly powerful tool and a solution to these times. We always like to talk, right, about this new virtual reality. So many things have changed, right? So many people have learned how to do Zoom calls, both for business as well as family. In fact, I always like to say, I feel like I live on a Zoom call all day. In fact, just a few weeks ago, I popped off a business call and then popped onto a call with some of my cousins. And I kid you not, I just immediately kind of on autopilot started off with my cousins saying, hey, welcome to the meeting, everybody. The quick agenda is we're going to play some games together. We're going to go over each other's weeks. Right? And I was like, what am I doing? You know? And so it's just a strange new environment. And what's really exciting is that the 3D tours that we'll go over today really are a safe way to show someone a home in a time when home shoppers might not be comfortable or might not even be, allowed by local regulations to visit homes in the way they used to. So honestly, I hope this becomes an ace up your guys' sleeves, and I'm excited to go over it step by step. I always like to start with the big picture, and so it's really exciting to be able to share with you some data right from the Zillow website, specifically on what's the effect when you add a Zillow 3D home tour to your listing. So since March, it's been incredibly exciting to see that listings with Zillow 3D home tours published to them have been receiving 60% more saves and 50% more views than listings without these tours. So those are immediate benefits that you can get right away. What's also been exciting is that since the pandemic started, we've seen 5 times more 3D home tours being created by agents, being created by their photographers, even created by the home sellers that are in their house. Essentially, there's been a huge spike. And my goal today is to make sure that you guys don't get left behind, right? With all of these new creators, I want you guys to be a part of that. And certainly I'll give you the step-by-step instructions so you can start receiving more views and more saves onto your listings. So quickly, like I mentioned, I'll give you a little bit of the backstory as well as go right into how do I actually capture one of these tours using my iPhone. And then certainly I would say maybe the most important part is what do I do after I have the tour taken? So I'll go over with you how to manage, but most importantly, how to share the tours onto the MLS, share them over email with your clients, text them to your clients, even share on social media as well. So I always like to kind of go over how did we get here with the Zillow 3D Home app. The whole goal of Zillow creating its own 3D app was to simplify the whole experience. So in the past, creating virtual tours, a lot of the big players and a lot of the software and platforms you could use really had 2 flaws to them. They were expensive, both to purchase the camera equipment, as well as expensive to pay the monthly hosting costs. And they were just time intensive, right? You couldn't get in and out of the house, usually within an hour, to finish the whole tour. So Zillow decided that there was room and an opportunity to create a completely free app to capture a tour that was then hosted for free. The tours never expire. So as long as the home is on the market, your 3D tour can stay up there. There's no costs to hosting. And then the best part is that the average time to complete one of these tours for 2,000 square feet is about 20 to 30 minutes, right? Once you get comfortable, you can certainly start to hit that 20-minute mark, but no longer are there days when you, or even if you use a professional content creator, would need to spend a dedicated hour to capture a virtual tour. So, to sum up what I just said, we wanted to create an app that was fast, easy, and free. Today, I'm not aware of any other virtual tour platforms that are completely free that are out there. So I would say this is absolutely the best one to start with. Certainly, there are a lot of merits to some of the other virtual tour platforms out there. So you can use more than one, but start with the free one and start with the fast one. So what's nice is that all you need to get started is just an iPhone. You can go to the App Store and search for the Zillow 3D Home app, download it, log in with your agent credentials, and then you can immediately start capturing tours. And you can do this right after we finish the webinar today to test it all out. I always like to give a little preview of what the final product actually looks like. So this is a screen recording from one of the tours. In fact, this was taken in one of our employees' homes during the pandemic. What I like to call out is that the arrows that are appearing at the bottom are actually generated automatically while you're taking the tour. That's another way we try to make it easy. Essentially, you navigate around to each of these points, and when you capture the panoramas, the app will remember where the other rooms were, generate these arrows to make it easy for the home shopper to navigate around. And then on the right side of the screen, there are always tabs that show each room, right? So if the home shopper wants to jump immediately to the master bedroom, they can just click on the tab over on the right-hand side, or using the arrows, right? They can walk themselves through the entire house, front door to back door, right? And all the way back through.
Awesome.
So we'll go right in.
Andrew, Daniel, real quick. There's a couple questions coming in. One, someone wanted me to post the URL to the FAQs section, which I posted into the chat for everyone. The question that always comes up is, what about Android phones? Currently, this does not work on an Android. It works on an iPhone, and you can use a Ricoh Theta camera. Is that right?
Yeah. Android users, I love ya, but Zillow had to make a hard decision of picking which platform to start with. So the goal would be in the future to have an Android app, but unfortunately, I don't have a timetable for when that app will be released. So yes, I've been encouraging everybody kind of to flex as many options as they can, right? Finding members on your team that have iPhones that can be used. As well, like you said, Todd, there is an option. You can use an iPad along with one of the Ricoh 360 cameras and pair those up together. So if you have an iPad around the office, those Ricoh 360 cameras are pretty affordable when it comes to 360 cameras, looking around $300 for the camera. So yeah, a few different entry points to get into if you don't have an iPhone in your pocket.
Gotcha.
Awesome. Well, yeah, feel free to stop me too, Todd, if other questions come in. Yeah, this can be kind of an active.
I will, but you take it away. You're doing good.
But yeah, let's get into it. I want to show you exactly what it looks like when you open up the app and when you start using it. So like I mentioned, in the App Store, the app name is just Zillow 3D Home. You'll see that big orange logo with the Zillow Z on it. That's how you know you have the right one. When you download it, you'll go ahead and I'll show you another screen recording that walks through these steps. But just to condense this, you essentially hit start. It'll ask you for the address of the home that you're at the moment. You can either enter it in now, or you can also skip and you can add the address to the tour once you're back in the office. And then it really is as simple as just clicking, hey, I'm at the front door. I'm capturing a panorama of the front door, and then working your way through the house from there. To give you an idea, here's the screen recording of right when you go into the app. You'll hit that blue button to start the capture. You'll let them know which device you're using. Here's where you can enter, of course, the address, and then say that you're at a single family home or an apartment. And then on that page, you just select what room you're in. So in this case, we're in the living room. I like to call this the Pac-Man effect. So you'll see these white bars appear on the screen, and you'll just place the camera overlay right in the middle, and then you're just turning essentially to your right in one complete circle, just eating up all those bars. And don't stop halfway. The bars will guide you in a full circle. So you'll make a full 360, literally just kind of standing on the balls or the heels of your feet, right? And then moving around in a circle all the way to the final bar. As soon as you capture a full 360, the app will pop you back into this screen, letting you know that that room is preparing. And then it's just a process of moving on to the next room. So, right, if we pretend that you just captured the living room, the next step would be to click add.
Now, Daniel, real quick, some agents I've heard they buy a easy little adapter for your iPhone that you can put on either a mono stand, you know, a little one, it has one leg that goes down to the ground that you can then easily rotate the camera, and it keeps it right at the same height the whole way around, and you can just rotate it 360 degrees. So they have things called, not instead of a tripod, it's a monopod. And you put a little iPhone adapter on it, and those can be found on, you know, Amazon, online, different sources. They're relatively inexpensive, but it's just an easy way to do that 360. Have you heard any other secrets about the easy way to do the 360 virtual?
Yeah, so there are a lot of gadgets that you can use, and certainly I welcome all gadgets. I'll play this recording again, so just that it's in the background, but the main, I guess, struggle that I see a lot of agents encountering when they're taking these tours is actually keeping the iPhone steady, right? If you're using just your hands, right, there's going to be just a natural shake. That is okay. I would just keep in mind as you're spinning around, like on the screen, that you're not taking steps, you know, to your right, to your left. You really are just staying, you know, on the heels, so that you're just staying in one spot on the floor. Because if you do drift to the left or the right, it'll actually kind of create a little distortion in the images. So yeah, if you do use a monopod like you're describing, that's actually a really nice cue to help you stay just in one spot, right? If the monopod leg never moves, it can help you rotate kind of in a perfect circle that way. I think the
I wasn't trying to suggest that that was needed, you know, because it's also, people want authentic. And so even if you just do it and you turn in a circle and turn slowly, it works, and people want to see it. So it doesn't have to be 100% perfect, and it is relatively easy to do. You don't have to have a monopod. I just wanted to answer that question for some people who might be thinking, how do I keep it steady? But either way, as long as you do it, just try it. Try it with a room, see how easy it is to do. Go to the next room like you're showing, because it really, people appreciate authentic, right?
Yes, and that's a great encouragement too, Todd. This app was created for you to actually hold it in your hand. So by all means, no equipment is required. And yeah, I also want to, you know, double back on what you encouraged there too. These don't need to be perfect. In fact, most tours that I see completed do have some distortions, right? They do have some overlaps where the kitchen sink doesn't quite line up, right, between the beginning and the end of your panorama. And that is okay. A lot of home shoppers have a lot of grace, right? I think a lot of them are just thankful that this listing actually has a virtual tour that they can walk themselves through. I would also say that the more of these tours you take, the more you practice it, the better you'll get. And so they actually do start to turn out pretty crisp after you start to practice. But yeah, I would not leave a 3D tour unpublished just because you have a few distortions in a few of the images.
Awesome.
So again, as we kind of go over these steps, you're essentially moving yourself from room to room, capturing one of these 360 panos where you spin yourself like a carousel in each room. We do recommend, and again, this will show you some of the screenshots. What's nice, right, is you're moving room to room. The app will actually give you prompts, right, of laying out, here are the different rooms that you can choose from. So you can also add custom rooms. You know, if it's a special property, you can add in your own label. Otherwise, it'll just give you options, right, of moving through. Here, I'm in the kitchen, I'll click kitchen. I'm in a bedroom, I'll click bedroom. A few quick tips, right, as you're going through the house. We find that the images turn out way better the more light that you can actually bring into the room. iPhone's cameras are pretty advanced today, where if you have a bright window and then, you know, of course, the back of the room is a little darker, it'll actually be able to, to balance the light. So a lot of times you'll be able to see through the window, and you'll also be able to see into the room. But overall, we find opening up all of the blinds, turning on all of the lights in each room, turning off fans or televisions, anything that's going to give you some motion that'll turn out blurry, as well as opening up all of the doors, right? We want to make sure a homeowner kind of can get a feel for the layout, and a closed door, can kind of puzzle somebody about what room they are in. But yeah, I would say bring in as much natural light, turn on the lights to bring in some extra artificial light, and that'll make your images look the best.
Andrew, or Daniel, real quick, one thing I wanted to say is there are some questions coming through real quick on the chat, but I want you to keep going and go through the whole thing, and we'll come back and answer all the questions later, because I think you're going to cover some of the questions too in what you have upcoming.
Oh, sure. Yeah, and feel free to keep them saved so we cover all of the questions today.
We will.
Earlier I was mentioning, right, you're moving yourself through room by room. My recommendation, kind of at a minimum, would be one panorama per room of the house. And I'm not talking, right, every little closet or even every little bathroom. It's up to you if you want to skip some of the smaller areas. But as a rule of thumb, I would say every main room that you want to showcase, take a panorama and stand right in the middle of the room, right, to capture and give yourself the most distance from the walls around you. Larger rooms, though, and you'll see that on the screen, right, a large living room, a large kitchen, you are welcome to take more than one panorama. In fact, there's no limit on the number of panoramas that you can take in a tour. So if there are special viewpoints that you want to showcase inside of the house, as well as special viewpoints you want to showcase outdoors, right? If you want to take a few panoramas on the deck, in the backyard, in the front yard, in the side yard, right? Showing an attached garage, showing other attached, another building or another unit on the property. You can go around and you can capture panoramas of all of that. But as a rule of thumb, I would say one panorama per room, and then, add on from there as you will. I always like to share this map on the screen to give you a little idea of what that looks like to capture kind of one panorama per room, or in this case, you'll see, right, more than one panoramas. I did share, right, my quick tip is to always stand in the center of the room, but if you are capturing, right, 2 or 3 panoramas in a living room, you can see this on the map, right, then you can space yourself out, one kind of on each side. One of the big call outs I like to also make is capturing panoramas in hallways to kind of build a route that somebody can walk through the home with. So you'll see kind of in the center of this map image, right in kind of a hub, right, of a hallway where there's multiple bedrooms all coming off of it. Make sure you kind of capture a center panorama that then can connect you to each of the bedrooms. I think one of the last things we would want to do is any home shoppers lost, right? They get into a bedroom and they have no idea how to get out, or how that bedroom then connects with the rest of the house. So kind of just capturing connection points along with the different rooms would be my tip.
And Daniel, your last bullet point there says, don't forget the front and back exterior of the home. Where is the best starting point? Right at the front door or on the front walkway, the front patio? How far out in front of the home do you go? And, I guess at some point, do you go out into the backyard or patio or whatever and turn and do one so they can see the house? Can you talk about the front and back exteriors, best practices?
Yeah, and that's a great question too. I would say in some of our user testing, the curbside shot, or a shot that shows you the front yard as well as a view of the neighborhood. And usually that works best if you do just stand on the curb, close to the mailbox. That's one of the most popular panoramas that we hear in our focus groups, because it gives you a sense, right, of what it would be like to walk up to the house as well as see the street and the neighborhood.
So would that be your the very first one that you do?
Yeah, so the good news is that you can actually control after you take all the panoramas, which is the first one, and kind of build the order that you would like.
Okay.
So it's okay if you end up at the house capturing the panoramas out of the order that you would like finally. But um, as a quick tip, yeah, I would start at the curbside and then kind of walk, right, make a path through the house and capture your panoramas that way. That way, most of them are in the order that you would probably like at the end.
Gotcha. Okay.
But a quick tip, the goal here is to create a tour that gives the home shopper the best and most immersive feeling of the house. And walking up to it right from the curb, also walking into the backyard. I do want to call out that we don't require a panorama at the front of the house. We don't require a panorama in the back of the house. So it's up to you if you'd like to take it. But generally, right, the more authentic the tour is, the more value it brings to the home shopper, right? So, I think most home shoppers understand that, maybe the backyard is going to need a little bit of work. And so if it doesn't look perfect in the backyard, I'd still encourage you to try taking a panorama of it, just so that we, again, give that home shopper the best experience of touring remotely, without actually having to be there in person. But certainly you as the creator of the 3D tour have ultimate control about what you end up showing. And so once, right, you've gone through the house, you've gone, through the front yard, you've gone through the backyard and captured all the panoramas that you want to include, then just the last thing to do would be to quickly look over to make sure you do have everything that you wanted to include, all of the rooms, and then click all panoramas complete. I say that because after you click all panoramas complete and the tour starts uploading to Zillow, there isn't a way to go back and add any additional panoramas. Just the way the system is built out right now, you can't go back and re-add. So it's not the end of the world if you missed, right, a room. The encouragement here would be, right, you just have to go back through and maybe capture the tour a second time to include, right, a major room that you missed. But this is kind of my fair warning to start with, right? Make sure before you hit all panoramas complete that you have everything that you want. And then it'll prompt you right away to either publish the tour immediately to the listing as soon as it's finished, or, right, you can finish without publishing. That gives you then the option to actually look through the tour. You can reorder the panos. You can even adjust the arrows too, just to make sure that all of the arrows are generated and are there in the tour. Most people end up clicking finish without publishing because they plan on taking, right, a second look at the tour before they publish it live on the listing. But it's up to you, right, based on your schedule and how you'd like to manage the tours.
Right, but if you if you press the finish without publishing, that allows you to actually walk through the tour once, like as in a practice, and see what the consumer sees, see the different arrows that are there. So make sure that it all works to your liking before you actually finish and publish. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And I would say most users spend just about 5 minutes checking their tours, to make sure everything looks good. What's exciting is that it doesn't have to be you actually that checks through the tour to make sure it looks good. You can add users, add email addresses to give other members of your team access to your tours. So if you want to delegate that to somebody else to say, hey, I shot this tour when I was at the property, can you just spend a few minutes to look through and make sure everything looks good? Right? Add an arrow to the laundry room because the system didn't generate it automatically. Steps like that. You can delegate that to somebody else. And then you will always have control over publishing, unpublishing, publishing again, unpublishing your tour. So nothing is set in stone after you publish it. And then if you give, add an additional user to your tour to look over it, they too will have an option to publish it, right, once they're done making some edits. So like I mentioned a little earlier, there's always the question of, I've taken this 3D tour, I've uploaded it, I got all the rooms that I want, but what the heck do I do with it now, right? Where does it go to make sure that as many people as possible can see it? The first place they can go is onto your Zillow listing. We make that easy, right? As soon as you hit publish inside of the app, boom, it automatically goes to your listing. But I would say, right, the next most important place for it to go, of course, is the MLS. In fact, the story I always like to share is that when we were initially testing the app and talking with some early agents that were testing it, they told us, hey, if I can't put this on the MLS, it's not even worth taking in the first place. So the exciting part is that every Zillow 3D home tour comes with an unbranded tour link, a URL that you can submit into the MLS, right? That'll disperse to all of the other real estate websites and not just Zillow. So I'll make sure I say it kind of here first so you hear it right from me. Zillow 3D home tours are not just for Zillow. They're designed to be used on all of the different websites, right, that syndicate from the MLS, as well as we want to make it easy for you to share these on social media and even email and text them to your clients too. So I'll kind of dive in. You can share all of your tours right from the app itself. That's what most people end up doing. But if you are the type of user that actually prefers to work on a desktop on a larger screen, there is a desktop login where you can see all of the 3D tours that you create. Oftentimes, if you are delegating some of these tasks to an admin in the office or another team member, maybe they're back at the office, right, or back at their home office, oftentimes they'll be using the desktop login here. We refer to that as the 3D home dashboard. I'll make sure that, that you guys see the links for that. The main link that Todd was sharing out, right, is our kind of homepage for everything Zillow 3D. And there is a tab that'll talk specifically about the dashboard and give you the link to log into that. But you'll also see the link here on the page, right? It's just a website that you log into, shows you all the tours that you've done, and then gives you options here, of course, as we were mentioning, to edit. I do want to kind of set the expectation. When we created the Zillow 3D app, we wanted to create it so that you wouldn't have to do really any editing at all. But like any automated system, right, where the computer is adding the arrows for you, it's just not always perfect. So that's why I do encourage the human to take the second look before you publish it. So when you go into the dashboard, as well as when you go into the app and click on your past 3D tours, you will see that option to edit the tours. When I say edit, you're not editing any of the lighting, you're not adding filters. The only thing that you would be editing is the order of the panoramas, right? If you took the front door last, you can move that front door to the beginning, as well as editing the arrows, right? So if an arrow doesn't quite line up, right, with the direction that the kitchen is in, you can actually move that arrow over. If an arrow just doesn't exist, right, to take you out to the backyard, you can then add that arrow to make sure that there's a waypoint, right, to get through to the backyard, for instance. And then also you'll see an option to go ahead and share. The share window brings up pretty much everything you would need and that we've been talking about. So if you look down or on the screenshot, at the bottom right will be your unbranded MLS share link. So you can just click copy and submit that into the MLS. Also, we give you quick share options for the different the major social media channels. And then there is also that option to immediately email the link out. When I talk about emailing and texting, it really is just copying the link and then, right, pasting that into an email, right? Letting your clients know, hey, have this new house on the market, took a 3D tour, here's the link, go ahead and check it out, right? You can do that over text as well. You can copy the tour link right from the app, immediately pull up a text and paste that link into a text message as well. And then I always like, again, to show some screenshots or screen recordings. This is actually the dashboard itself. There's a few different options, right, to help you search and quickly find the 3D tour that you're looking for, right? You can search by the address. If you have any trouble adding the address at the house, I did mention earlier, you can skip and just create essentially an unassociated tour. And then once you get back to the office, or you're back maybe in better cell range, then you can add the address. So never feel like you can't take a 3D tour of a property if the app is having trouble finding the address at the very beginning. And then on the screen here is actually showing you what it looks like to add the arrows or move the arrows. Again, like I was saying, the computer is good, but it's not perfect. So I'd plan to spend about 5 minutes just making sure the arrows are pointing in the directions you want them to, and that, right, someone doesn't walk into a laundry room and doesn't have an arrow to get themselves back out into the house. And then here's the share window. Again, that MLS link is probably going to be your best friend. That's the one you can use first. And then you can click right onto the different share buttons for social media as well. But again, right, as long as you have that URL link, I mean, you can use that anywhere. You can pop it into a text message. You can pop it into an email. Right, and there's even an embed option if you like to post the tours onto your own, maybe single listing web page for the property. You can embed the tours as well. The other thing I really want to call out is, what do the 3D tours look like once they're published to Zillow? What's nice is that we put the 3D tour as the fourth photograph as someone is scrolling through. We also make it double wide to make sure that somebody doesn't miss it as they're scrolling down through the different listing photos. So you'll see that here on the screen. Of course, we've blown it up here a little bit, but like I was saying, it takes up the space of 2 photos to draw extra attention to it. And then we also add badges. So as someone's scrolling through the search results, and you'll see this on the left-hand side, there will be a little badge icon, and you can see it there. It says 3D Home. That alerts somebody as they're scrolling through different houses, that alerts them to know that this house has a 3D Home tour. On the right-hand side is what the 3D tour looks like when you're looking actually at the listing page on a mobile device. So it's embedded right with the listing photos, but we let a user know in the corner that this is actually an interactive 3D tour. The other really exciting thing to share with you is that when you do publish a 3D home tour to your Zillow listing, we actually show a little banner, and it's an exclusive banner that shows up underneath the house on the Zillow search map. So as you can see it here, right, homes that don't have a 3D home tour just show up as normal, right, as the dot with the price. But if you add a 3D home tour to your listing, you get that extra red banner, and that really does draw extra attention to your listing as someone is scanning a neighborhood to see what homes are available.
One quick question, going back where you had your unpublished, published, and archived. What's the difference between unpublished and archived?
Yeah, archived was created mainly if you find that you're taking so many 3D tours that it's hard to search through and find your more recent ones.
Gotcha.
So if you find that after a month or two, those old tours are getting in your way, that's when I would archive them. Another question that comes up a lot, and this might be a good segue, is, after the home sells, do I need to, go in and unpublish the tour? That's all up to you. Oftentimes, a lot of users will just keep tours published, mainly because they don't want to log back in and remember to unpublish tours. At the moment, the 3D home tour will display as long as the listing photos display on the home after it sells. But there is automation on Zillow, right, that after a certain amount of time, since the home sells, right, we hide all of the listing photos, and then we'll also hide the 3D home tour. So it's not a requirement that you need to go in and unpublish or archive tours. But if, for instance, you have a new homeowner that immediately says, hey, I don't want that 3D home tour up on the listing, you can go in and you can unpublish it, the day after it sells. But rest assured, right, there is automation in place after it might be as many as 7 days, 7 to 14 days. Zillow will automatically hide, right, all of the listing photos and the 3D tour as well.
All right. So we have some awesome questions coming in the chat, but I want you to keep going and then we'll come back and answer them in a moment. So keep going, Daniel.
Nice. Yeah, I'm almost done, and then yeah, excited to go over the questions as well. We captured or kind of went over a few of these questions as well, but I always like to bring up, right, the most commonly asked ones. Is there sound in the 3D home tour? No, in our user tests, people just enjoyed being able to kind of walk through the tour at their own pace without, a soundtrack going in the background. Is it available on Android? Like I mentioned earlier, I love you Android users, but at least at the moment, we had to pick between one platform or another. And so the goal, of course, is that eventually the other half of the family can join the table here. But at the moment, right, I try to find a way to get your hands on either an iPhone or an iPad as quickly as possible. Can I capture the 3D tour with the Zillow Premier Agent app? The answer is no. The 3D app is completely separate. So you'll want to download that separately and then always open the 3D Home app to capture the 3D tour. What's nice there too, right, is that the 3D Home app is available to anyone regardless of your Premier Agent status. So if you aren't a Premier Agent, you can still use and benefit from taking these 3D tours. And then, can I use a 360 camera? Yes, there are 2 camera models. The more affordable one starts around $300. My quick plug for the 360 cameras is it just makes things a lot easier, right? You're not a human carousel anymore, spinning your iPhone around. The 360 camera takes the whole room all at once with its 360 lenses, and it reduces the capture time from about 20 to 30 minutes when you're using an iPhone down to about 15, I'd even say 10 to 15 minutes per 2,000 square feet if you use one of those cameras. Not required by any means, but if you just find that you're doing a lot of these, right, it might be worth your while to invest in one of the cameras.
So everybody type into the chat real quick if you'd like me to get Ricoh Theta, do a quick webinar on that with them and how the Ricoh Theta camera works with Zillow Group. I could do that as well. So let me know what you think. And the thing is that the Ricoh Theta, often it comes with that monopod. So it's got the singular, I guess, expanding and collapsing single center pole that the camera screws onto. And then it's got 3 little legs down at the bottom. So it just stands like a little tripod. But it's essentially one bar going up to capture and connect to the camera. So, yep. All right, keep going. Thanks, Daniel. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's good. In fact, yeah, a lot of teams will have a few of these cameras. Either team members purchase them for themselves, or you kind of work out a borrowing system, right? I'm headed out to these properties, and I'm going to check out the camera today. Yep. So this is the part of the presentation where I really just kind of like to wrap or pull everything together. Again, the whole goal here is to help home shoppers continue to unlock life's next chapter, right? That's Zillow's new motto. And that means finding ways to help people do this even during a pandemic. And so again, I always like to say the 3D Home Tour and app is just an awesome tool and really a nice little solution, right, to help meet some of the demands and challenges that we're facing right now. What's also exciting is that anyone can take a 3D home tour. So certainly today, I'm kind of aiming this webinar at you as the listing agent, right? When you're visiting one of your properties, you can capture the 3D home tour. But there are some other options, right? If you use a professional photographer, you can actually ask them, hey, can you spend an extra 20 minutes at the listing and capture the 3D home tour for me, right? Using your iPhone or using a 360 camera, right, that maybe the photographer invests in. And then, right, work out, a payment for their time, I would say, to capture that in the.
That is one thing I wanted to clarify, is that if you do have a photographer that creates 3D tours, or has one of those 360 cameras or an iPhone, you can hire them to do your 3D home tour and basically get it uploaded into the Zillow system for you. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So a photographer would be able to capture the 3D tour for your property all via the address. So as long as they enter in the address, they'd be able to connect it to your listing. The photographer can then publish it or leave it unpublished, and then you can take that final look over and publish it yourself. A lot of agents have a pretty good working relationship with their photographer, and they trust their photographer to say, hey, after you look it over and after it looks good to you, go ahead and publish it to my listing. But of course, you as a listing agent have final control, right? You can always unpublish and edit things yourself.
All right. So this question always comes up. Who owns the rights to the video or the tour?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the Zillow 3D tours do live inside of the Zillow app. Certainly you're creating it yourself, and so you can use it. But at this point, right, the ownership would live with Zillow, since you're using the Zillow app.
Right. But they have
videos.
You have unlimited use of the video. As you said, it lives on, correct? Right?
Right. And then you're also in control, right, of unpublishing or even deleting the 3D tours as well. For us, right, Zillow's main goal is to be able to track the data of knowing, what homes have a 3D tour and how many more views, how many more saves, even how much faster, right, does a home sell. So that's part of the reason why, right, we want to have.
Well, if it resides on your system, it makes sense that
Yeah, and for videos, right, you would be able to upload a video, and then same thing, at least on the video side, you own the video, but you grant Zillow, the right to display it on our website, but then you control whether or not you want to keep it on Zillow or delete it after you upload it as well.
All right, so real quick, I'm going to run back through all the questions real quick and make sure we answered them. This one has come up several times. Will an iPhone 6 work, an iPhone 5, etc.? I saw Kadra had published it that it needs to be an iPhone 7 or newer. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So for using the actual camera on the iPhone, you will need to have an iPhone 7 or newer. The older iPhones just don't have the processing power, or I would actually say as nice of a camera to be able to complete the tours. Just a quick note, if you do have an iPhone 6 and you don't want to upgrade and buy a new iPhone, the iPhone 6s will still connect to those 360 cameras. So maybe you put your money towards, right, one of those 360 cameras instead of upgrading your iPhone.
Gotcha. What's needed to use a new iPad Pro? Same thing, you're just going to go and you're going to download the Zillow 3D Home app on the iPad and make sure that works. Smaller places like an IE condo, where's the best place to stand so you just don't get a close up the wall? I think you covered that. It's mainly the center of the room, unless there's a viewpoint somewhere. You may take more than one inside of a room. Maybe it's a connecting hallway to another hallway to another hallway that you want to be able to show, the navigation of the floor plan. So multiple panoramics are available. Oftentimes, though, the center of the room is the best place. Good question here. I was waiting to ask this one. How do you remove yourself from the mirrors in the bathrooms? Any hints?
Yeah, that is a great question. Sometimes it's just impossible. So I would encourage you that, try your best to kind of position yourself so that your reflection doesn't, get into view. But, let's say, the master bedroom has a full, the closet doors are all mirrors and there's no place to hide. I would hate for you to not capture the master bedroom just because you end up appearing in the image at the end. So I'd encourage you to go ahead and even if you do appear, keep that panorama in. Right, you can even give a little wave, right, to the camera as you spin past that mirror.
Right.
The home shopper hopefully is going to meet you anyway, so that can be the first greeting. But yeah, I would just try your best to hide yourself from view, right? Maybe that does mean you kind of move away from the center. But again, home shoppers have a lot of understanding here. You're giving them a whole lot of value by giving them a virtual tour. So there's a little grace if you end up showing up in the shop.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's where the 360-degree cameras actually can help eliminate that problem, because if I remember correctly, you put the camera in the middle of that bathroom or that room, and you would walk around the corner and actually press the capture button on the app on the phone. Is that how that works? So that you're not
No, that's a great shout out to the 360 cameras. Yes, it's a timer function, right? So you click the timer, you can give yourself 5 seconds, 10 seconds, right, to move out of the room completely. So if you use a Ricoh camera, you will never run into the problem of actually appearing in the images.
So what happens if you stop short of 360? Is that even possible?
Yeah, good question. The app won't let you finish the panorama until you go all the way in a 360. So it'll remind you and nudge you to finish that before you move on.
Okay, all right. Also, question, do you need to be a Premier agent? The answer to that is no. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So no, you do not need to be a Premier agent to use the 3D app to its full capacity. So you have full access to capturing these tours, publishing them to your listings. Again, seeing the badges added, having that little red banner show up in the search results. All of those benefits are available to all agents, regardless of PA status.
Okay. Let's see here.
Not seeing your friends.
All right, so hang on. Can you delete something that you don't like or exclude it after you do the capture?
Yes, it's a good question. You can delete panos from the tour right after you finish. There also is an option to preview the panos when you're still at the property. So after you capture a bedroom, for instance, you can click on that bedroom panorama and actually see what it looks like to make sure, right, you got the whole image, or maybe the cat ran into the shot while you were there. So you can reshoot it at the property. But yes, once you get back to the office, if a panorama didn't turn out the way you wanted it, and you feel like it really detracts from the full tour, you can delete it.
Perfect. Okay, let's see here. The question about doing the 360 degree panorama in the front yard, which would include the house across the street. Are you sure you would do that? The question is, so you do a 360 in the front yard, which would include the house across the street? Question mark. That was a question.
Well, yeah. Well, I wonder if maybe the concern is that, right, maybe the home shopper thinks it's the other house right across the street. If that's the concern, there's an option to set the default view, right? So when they're in the front yard, they start by looking at the house that's actually up for sale. But if you are concerned about, showing the neighborhood or showing other homes, you are more than welcome to skip that curbside shot. It's just a very popular shot that a lot of home shoppers like. That's why I encourage it.
Can you save or finish later if a room is not prepared? So in other words, I think that like if you do, 5 of the panoramas, but you want to do 2 more later, how much time do you have to get the rooms prepared and then go back and do those other 2 later?
Yeah, so while you're at the property, you have unlimited amounts of time while you're taking the 3D tour. So yeah, if you need to, pause capturing the tour to quickly put away a few things or straighten some things in the room, that's perfectly fine. You can even, this is maybe an extreme example, but it might give you an option. If you need to jet out of a house and you haven't finished the 3D tour, as long as you don't hit all panoramas complete to finish the tour, the first few panoramas you took are going to be saved in the app, and then it gives you an option to resume the tour. So you could even, leave a house for a few hours, then come back and then just resume the tour, capture the few remaining rooms, and then, click the button, hey, everything is complete. It's just when you do hit complete, that's when you can't go back to add anything new.
Right. Okay, so Meridian wanted to know, can we use it on MLS listings? Yes, you answered that question already. How does the software know how to connect the rooms and create the arrows? It has to do with after you do the panoramas, you can put them in the order that you want it to go. Is that correct? I think the question may really come down to, but wait a minute, what if you can go right, you can go left, you can go forward. It's got multiple options. How does it know how to do that? So maybe you can clarify that.
Yeah, so you are correct where, right, you can go back in and you can reorder the panoramas, but the app will actually keep track of your location inside of the house. And as I understand kind of the technical aspect that our developers tell me, it triangulates, based on, this other panorama was taken over in this area of the house, and based on that location, we now know that you're over in this area of the house, and that's how it'll place the arrow and actually point in the direction of the new room. And then right as you start to kind of create that web of different capture points throughout the house, then the app can get a better sense of, hey, based on the location of the kitchen over here and based on the location of this bedroom over here, this arrow that takes you to the backyard should be pointing in this direction.
That's genius. All right, so let's say though that someone has a little difficulty with that. What technical support measures should they take if they just can't get a tour to show the way that they want it to show? How would they get support on that?
Yeah, so we have a 3D support team that is ready and waiting to help you with your tours if you encounter any hiccups or just have questions. The 3D support team's email is 3dhome@zillowgroup.com. So you can email them. I would encourage you to look over the main website, right? That's the link that Todd first sent out. We actually cover, I would say, 99% of questions and steps that you'll probably encounter. So look through all of that first. But yeah, if you have something that you just can't figure out, the good news is we have a team that's here to
Okay, so I just typed in 3dhome@zillowgroup.com. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So I typed that into the chat for everyone. Okay, a couple other quick questions. So then someone said, okay, so yes, so then you can edit it. Hold on, let's see, just want to confirm. Can you redo one room that did not look good, or must you do it all over again? As long as you don't publish that final publish, you can go back and redo that room later. So you can reshoot before publishing. All right.
Yep.
And you can just redo the room and you can edit later. Okay. As long as you don't hit that final publish. All right. Then here's one question I saw earlier. Can agents use this if they're working with buyers, i.e. it's not their listing, but they just want to create the tour and send it to their buyer, finish without publishing, and use it that way? I know that there's probably some broker legalities and security and privacy issues, and I think that even just goes with what happens when you're normally walking through a home on a tour and you have video, right? Where like, are you allowed to video? Are you not? So my number one answer would be ask that of your broker in your local area first. And then secondly, I guess, Daniel, if you can just add to that, because I honestly, I don't know that answer in each of your local areas. You need to talk to your broker about that and ask your broker. But Daniel, I didn't know if you could add any color to that about any of the focus groups or anything that you did with agents.
Yeah, no, I think you answer it really well there, Todd, right? The first answer is, make sure you're in the clear when it comes to legality and permission. But what's interesting is we've actually heard of that use case being used in the past few months. Right? Certainly the pandemic, creates these situations where, a buyer's agent wants to show these different homes and send them to their clients and say, hey, check this house out. So we have heard of buyer's agents, capturing a 3D home tour. You don't have to add an address, nor do you need to publish it to actually share it. So that's what some of these agents have been doing. It's just capturing the tour, and then sending that URL link to their clients. But as long as you figure out the legality and make sure you have permission, then yeah, that's a great use case.
All right, perfect. Okay, so one question just about a vertical horizontal view. What's the default view for the panorama? I think what I saw you show a moment ago is that when you are doing the panorama with an iPhone, that the iPhone should be vertical. Is that correct when you're doing the panorama?
Yeah. So you'll want to hold the iPhone vertically. It'll actually prevent you if you turn it horizontal. And then there is always the option to set the default view when you're going in and fine tuning, right? And making sure the tour looks good afterwards. But a quick tip, and for anyone that's curious, the defaulted starting view is always going to be where your back is facing when you start the tour. So to kind of give you an idea, when you first aim your camera up at the room, that's the starting point of the panorama. And then the software actually then has to stitch your last panorama together. And that's often where, a little distortion might come into play. So what the app will do is set a default starting view, if you don't change it yourself, to be on the other side of that, right? Away from, that stitching point where there might be a little distortion. So the quick tip there is, right, if you're in the front yard and you want the default view by default to be looking at the house, start by actually turning your back towards the house, right? Point your back at where you'd like the opening view to be, and then start capturing your pano there. If you forget to do that, or if that's a little cumbersome for you, you can always set the default view yourself once you're looking through the panoramas afterwards.
That's probably the best tip of the day, because I think instinctively, when you're going to, I would have thought, starting looking right at the fireplace or whatever it is. And ironically, now that you mention it that way, you should probably, start the other way, so that the stitching then is the back or the front of the house. Turn your back to the front of the house and start there, so that the front of the house is perfect. So
yeah,
that's a great.
Yeah, I'm glad I called that out. It's a little, it's one of those maybe little hidden secrets. Again, I think overall, right, the big theme here is that home shoppers are pretty understanding. So if you don't have the perfect starting view, right, home shoppers still turn around and they look at the whole room. But yeah, point your back at the best view, if you can remember when you're.
All right, a couple more quick questions here. Tina wants to know if we have an existing virtual tour that's been uploaded into the MLS, can I upload it to Zillow also? So that's not this 3D tour, that's a different tour. And I think that's where that FAQ that I have about other videos, or can you briefly touch on that, how other tours can be implemented into Zillow?
Yeah, it's a great question, because there's a lot of other great virtual tour platforms out there. Matterport Ride is one of the most well-known. I think Matterport tours are gorgeous. They do a great job. And then there's other, virtual tour companies out there as well. Unfortunately, Zillow doesn't have any formal integrations with these other companies. And so we just plan, or put simply, we don't have the legal right to actually embed their tours right on the listing page. We're required to show a hyperlink, right, that'll take you over to the Matterport site where you can view the tour. So today, all of those links to another third-party tour all come to Zillow through the MLS. So as long as you're putting that URL in as the virtual tour link, that'll feed over to Zillow as a hyperlink. So the perk to using the Zillow 3D Home app is that Zillow, because it's within the Zillow ecosystem, we can embed it actually on the listing page in and amongst the photos. So there's a greater chance that someone will see it there. And then certainly the Zillow 3D tours also come with that URL link. So you can put that into the MLS to share it onto other real estate websites too.
Right. Okay, I think you answered this one. Lou wanted to know, does the Zillow 3D on Zillow.com syndicate from the MLS? So it actually, could you answer that real quick?
Yeah, so as long as you take that URL and we create an unbranded URL for the MLS. So it's just the tour itself, right? Your agent name doesn't appear in the corner. As long as you enter that and submit that to the MLS, it'll syndicate out to all of the different real estate websites.
So what's the best way to practice?
Yeah. Yeah. So I would encourage you, start at your own place, right? Wherever you are now, as soon as this webinar is over, right? Take the few seconds to download the app. And then I'd say just take 1 or 2 panoramas of the room you're in. So capture, right, your home office, capture your living room, right? You're by no means required, right, to capture your entire house. You can just do one room to see how it works. The first try, right, is probably not going to be the prettiest. But like I said, you get better with each shot. And, the main improvements I see is when users, again, try to just stay on the heels of their feet and spin that way. A lot of the distortions, right, happen if you, while spinning, again, move a little too much to your right or move a little too much to your left, right? If you're starting your capture point looking at the sink, and then by the time you go around in a circle, you're one step closer to the sink, right? It's going to look funny, right? The depth is going to be off. So I just practice, again, doing your best to spin in one position and, shoot your living room 2 or 3 times. And by that third time, it's going to start looking a lot cleaner.
So a lot of questions coming in about zero cell service. What happens if the home that you want to create the virtual tour has zero cell service?
Yeah, great question. So the short answer is you do not need cell service or Wi-Fi to capture a 3D tour. So you can go out to the property, you can, be in airplane mode essentially, and the 3D app will still open up. You won't be able to search for the address, but that's okay. You can click, add address later, and then you can actually capture the entire home. All of those panoramas are actually being saved to the camera's memory or your iPhone's memory, right? And then you can click all panoramas complete. You finish the tour. The app will then just wait until you are back into cell service or you are back onto a Wi-Fi signal. And then at that point, it'll start uploading the images to Zillow and to the listing. So yeah, great call out, because I know, right, a lot of homes and properties are out there, out of cell service. So yeah, you can be completely disconnected and still take the tour. In fact, I'd even encourage you can practice at home, right? Turn your iPhone onto airplane mode and then take a full 3D tour to see what that experience is like. You'll be getting a little notification, right? The app will keep reminding you, hey, I'm not connected to service. I can't upload the images until you are connected. But you can just dismiss those notifications, finish the tour, and then know, right? As soon as I'm back on service, that's when I can actually upload it to Zillow.
Great. Can agents upload this to their own website later?
Yeah, I had briefly mentioned there's an embed code option. So that's how you would then actually embed the 3D tour onto your own website.
Gotcha. Question came in from Michelle about doing this on land listings. Would you only take one shot or do a shot from the 4 corners of the land? I full disclosure, I haven't created one for a land shot, but my thought would be that you would want to walk the property and maybe do several from the 4 corners of the property or from the center of the property, the front of the property, so the viewer could envision different points of view on the land. But Daniel, you have any best practices on that one?
Yeah, that's a really fun question. And yeah, I can confirm now you can attach and publish a 3D tour to a land lot. And yeah, I think you're on the right track there, Todd, right? Whatever points of interest you see while you're there at the property, right? Capture a panorama there wherever you might want to actually walk, a home shopper over to, right, capture the panoramas there. I'd probably err on the side of capturing maybe too many panos. And then you can always delete any that get a little redundant afterwards.
Right. Okay. Does it build a layout of the home as you go? I.e., I'm wondering if they're asking about a floor plan. Okay, so I know that's different.
Yeah.
So obviously it does build and stitch by using the GPS coordinates you talked about. So it kind of does build a layout, but it's not necessarily building a floor plan. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So today there is not a floor plan that's generated that comes out of the 3D Tour app. I am excited to say that actually is the next frontier. That is absolutely what our team is interested in, is thinking through kind of the logistic challenge, really the technical challenge of can we create a 3D or a floor plan from one of these 3D tours. So that is the goal. That is what we're researching and looking into. But at least today, the 3D app is just going to create a virtual tour that you can navigate through and click through.
Great. A couple more quick questions. Susan wants to know, is there a disclosure for agents to have their sellers sign regarding the video tour? Again, I would say talk to your broker, number one. Number two, follow their instructions. But then additionally, Daniel, do you have anything else to add?
I wonder if part of that question is alluding to a for sale sign in the front yard. But maybe I'm misinterpreting.
I think it has to do with more that does the seller give permission for the 3D home tour to be created?
Yeah.
Right. So again, talk to your broker and get their follow their instructions would be my recommendation. Okay, what if I'm a really small room and I don't want a 360-degree view? Can I stop my rotation? No, you have to do, I heard you answer this, correct me if I'm wrong, you have to do the full 360-degree rotation or just not do that panoramic then. Is that correct?
Yeah. So that again is a good call out. You do not need to include every panorama in the final tour, right? You can delete one. It is true when you're using an iPhone, a really small bathroom is going to turn out a little claustrophobic. And so that is another quick point. The Ricoh 360 cameras do a lot better job of capturing small rooms. So if you do find that you're going to a lot of condos and you're encountering a lot of these small rooms, yeah, I think that's another good reason to look into the cameras. But if you are using the iPhone, which is where everybody starts, yeah, if you're getting some claustrophobic panoramas, right, I would delete those. One quick tip is that if you can capture a panorama of a bathroom by actually standing just in the doorway in the hallway, sometimes that's, gives you a little more distance to actually capture a view looking in so someone can see the bathroom, but right, it's less claustrophobic. So that's one good tip if you find yourself in a lot of small spaces.
Yep. Okay, so Daniel, real quick, if you could go back to the screenshot that shows the fully complete or complete without publishing screen. There's just a lot of questions, and then that ends our questions in the chat. I'm going to go through the Q&A real quick. But, just a lot of questions about using it with buyers, creating the tour but not publishing it. And then lastly, someone did mention that you can buy auto 360 home tripods, which actually will do the 360-degree rotation for you using an iPhone if you want. I have seen those as well. Or the 360-degree camera just does it all in one take when it just captures the room. But the big thing, I'm back to using it with buyers. Consult your broker first, follow their instructions. But it seems that there are some agents that are using this to create the tour real quick, as long as they're not publishing, not using an address. But again, you have to follow your broker's instructions. And in that case, you would have to do it with the finish without publishing, as well as answering all the questions that everyone has there about how do you do it? How do you complete the tour and have a link you can share without actually publishing it? So I guess if you could just recap on that, Daniel, real quick, and then I'm going to peruse the Q&A real quick. We've answered everything in the chat. So anything to add there about the publish, finish without publishing, Daniel? Go ahead.
Yeah, the good news is that there are a lot of options. So the primary goal of Zillow here is to give you a chance and give you a tool to create a virtual tour. It is not a requirement that you do publish it to Zillow. So what's exciting is that you can leave the tour unpublished and still have access to all of the share links and share options, right? Today, there are just so many eyes, right, going to Zillow listings that I would say the first and maybe most important place that you do put that 3D tour on, of course, is Zillow. But yeah, if you're in a use case where you don't need to publish the tour, right? You don't need to attach it to an address. The good news is you can leave it unpublished, you can leave it without an address, and then still share it as you would any other normal tour.
Right. Perfect. Okay. So this is a question, Daniel, I'm going to ask you because you've been in more best practices. Looks like we've answered almost all the questions except for one or two more. Kathy wanted to know, is there a difference in using a more professional look, i.e. using a monopod for a $1 million plus listing versus being more authentic and shaky? Which is more effective?
I think it's if you can invest in a monopod or even just a tripod, right, that clamps your iPhone and then you just spin it around, on the top of the monopod or the tripod, you will end up getting better results. So if you have access to that equipment or want to go ahead and invest in that equipment, then I say, go for it. But kind of, back to that original kind of idea is the most important thing is that you just captured the 3D tour. And so we created it so that you can do it just by holding it in your hand. I will also say that if you're going to purchase a tripod and a monopod for using your iPhone, it sounds like you're actually kind of on the track of eventually purchasing the 360 camera, right? You're looking for a way to kind of take these 3D tours to that next step. I'd encourage you to, then consider, hey, let's pull the trigger. Let's capture a 360 camera that ultimately does take better images than your iPhone camera. But the iPhone is that perfect place to start. And again, most important thing is that you just start capturing and start using it right away.
Well, and that's where I've heard often a saying that's often said is 90% perfect and 100% done is better than 100% perfect and not done. Meaning, like, if you're gonna go 4 months and not get it done, you might miss that opportunity. Give it a try, get it out there, practice, use it. And I do think that the studies I've seen, customers appreciate authenticity. So don't worry about if it's perfect or not, as long as it's done and it's something that can be used. I think the customers do appreciate it. And, you are really highlighting an option of doing this versus spending hundreds of dollars, on every 3D tour created. So again, each one of you are independent business people and you need to make your own decisions here. But Daniel, you've shared a lot of phenomenal information today. Really appreciate everything that you've done and that the Zillow group has done here. So any final thoughts? It looks like we've answered all the questions. Kadra, I know you're on. Thank you for monitoring the chat as well. Type any questions in for me that we need to cover yet real quick, Kadra, in the chat. But otherwise, Daniel, any final comments? And thank you for being here today.
Yeah, no, thanks so much for having me, you guys. And I would just reiterate, I hope that you can start practicing, right? Even just today, right? As soon as you log off, start playing around with it. I really want this app to just be, again, an ace up your sleeve, a way for you to, serve your clients during these times with something that's free and easy. So get out there and start practicing. Look over the main website, that link. Again, we have a lot of good information there. And if anything isn't covered, or if you still have an unanswered question, reach out to 3dhome@zillowgroup.com.
Perfect. Thank you, Daniel. All right. One thing I want to highlight before you all leave, I want you to know if you go to homesmart.com/business-builder, we will be uploading the recording of this webinar there for you to watch again. And I will also try to create a PDF of the PowerPoint slides here and to accompany that video then, just so that you have them so you can go review step by step later. And Daniel, this was so helpful walking through step by step for everyone. So I really appreciate it. And I hope everyone tackles this, gives it a try, and lets me know your results. Share with me the results of how this is working for you. Post it on our HomeSmart private Facebook groups for all the other agents to see and hear as well. And really appreciate all of you being on our Expand Your Brand Business Builder. Thank you to Zillow and to Daniel for being here. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you all next time around.
Awesome. Take care, you guys.
All right. Thanks, Daniel.